Hello everyone, and welcome to what is probably the most contentious issue in Euro Truck Simulator 2. Yep, those damn lagging frames. I've received various requests to make a video guide containing shortcuts to help you with these issues. So I've decided to look at it from a layman's perspective and compile what I think to be a simple and straightforward address to these issues. I'm Miggs, and I'm going to take you through some options you can try to get this done and improve your gameplay. By no means are these a fix for your lagging frames, but some of these tips could prove useful in smoothing out the end result. Every PC differs from the next one, and unfortunately what works for Paul won't necessarily work for Peter. This tutorial is aimed at those of you who have begun pulling out your hair in frustration, and quite frankly, those who have fallen out of love with Euro Truck. If you've been following my tutorials, you should be fairly well versed in the subject material of file editing, with special focus on AI spawn density and ratio. In my experience, this is the biggest culprit of stuttering in-game. Either way, this is going to be a crash course of things to try in order to resolve these issues. So, the config file. This guy is responsible for most of the game's resource application. By adjusting some of these variables, you'll be steps closer to smoother gameplay. What you need to do? Well, open up your Documents Euro Truck folder. There you need to create a backup of the config.cfg file. So let's rename it to config.cfg.back for the backup. Go ahead and start a new game so that a new default config file can be created. Save and exit the game and go back to the Documents Euro Truck folder and open the new config file with the Notepad editor. You will find a link for this app in the description below and install it as an administrator. Now that the notepad is open, we'll focus on some of the lines in there. Scroll down to line 38. This line is the multi-monitor field of view horizontal. The bigger the field of view value, the more screen area needs to be rendered for single screen setups. Default is 50, but you can go around to 65 or whatever feels appropriate for your screen. Next one is line 39, the multi-monitor mode. This applies to how many screens you run. 0 is default and 4 is for triple screen setups. Adjusting the field of view for multiple screens requires an additional field of view tweaking in the multimon_config.sii file, which is also located in the Documents Euro Truck folder. Line 41 is the buffer page size. Increase this value to between 50 and 100. This allows the game to allocate additional resources to the paging file size. Line 65 is mirror group. This one loves to hog frames. If you can deal with not having all your mirrors active, changing this value to 2 will render only the large side mirrors and black out all the other mirrors. For every mirror that is visible, the rendering process equates to an additional screen that needs to be rendered in real time, and top of that, rendered in reverse. So you can see that this really drowns GPU resources. Line 66 is the mirror view distance. Reducing this value also helps with frames. As it reduces the rendering distance in the mirrors, changing this value to 100 gets you a good compromise. Line 99 is G traffic. This value multiplies the AI spawn density by the given factor. So 1 is the default, and this can increase to 10, making the AI density 10 times as much. Be careful with this parameter, as it will surely destroy your frames in high density environments. Line 106 is developer. Set this value to 1 to enable the developer in-game. This is necessary as the next tips require this functionality. Line 159 is the mini console. Set this value to 1 to also enable it in developer. Line 161, console. Also set this value to 1 to enable the console in the developer. And then line 163, FPS, or frames per second. Set this value to 1 so you can see at what rate your frames are running in the game. Now you must save the file as we're done with it. Most of the other parameters can be adjusted in-game under the graphics section in the options menu. The next tip is the mod manager. Here you need to create a new player profile by following the instructions as explained in the video ETS2, how to copy a profile and rename it. You can find the link in the description below. Once that's done, run the game as vanilla with no mods active or enabled. And once the game is started, go for a drive, preferably in a very high density area such as a motorway around a large city, and then pause the game using F1. Using the tilde key will open the developer console. In the command bar, type G_traffic space and 2, and then you press enter. Press the tilde to exit the developer mode, and then F1 to unpause the game. Now drive around while monitoring the output of your frames, which will be visible in the top left corner of your screen as FPS. Keep increasing the G traffic value in increments of 1 until you notice where the frame rate is no longer acceptable to you. Now decrease the G traffic value by 1, and this will be the baseline of what your PC can handle. You can adjust the value in decimals too, like 2.5 or 5.7, but for now this is just to understand what your PC can handle. In the next tip, we look at graphics settings in-game. In the options menu, select graphics and then click on advanced settings. Here the most important setting is scaling. Setting it to 100% is the best as a baseline. If you're using reflections, set scaling also to 100% and reflection detail to low. You won't notice any real loss of detail and your PC will thank you for it. Vegetation, grass, shadow quality and texture size. All of these enhance the visual aspect of the game, but going too high will affect the frame rate output. So play around with these until you find an acceptable output rate, using your FPS counter as a reference. Mirror quality and resolution can be adjusted the same way, but leave mirror distance as custom. This value was adjusted in the config file under mirror distance. Texture quality will impact the frames, so again, trial and error is the only way to go here. All the other options are user preferences, but pedestrians are known to scavenge frame resources, so keep that in mind when checking this box. And the final tip is adding mods to the mod manager. As a rule of thumb, keep this in mind. All mods, be it map, truck or traffic mods, all require additional graphical resources to run. Yes, it's nice to have the best mods in your game, but you need to accept that your PC might not agree with your demands. Having said that, you can be meticulous about which mods you use and how many of them. For example, there are hundreds of good AI traffic mods, but instead of bundling them all up into your mod manager, select the very best ones and you will be surprised by how well your PC could respond. Besides that, you could also encounter a better array of those specific mods assets. By selecting fewer mods, you open up additional resources for your GPU to have at its disposal, and thereby rendering a more fluid experience. So select mods one at a time and run the game to see how it behaves. Begin with adding your map mods. and then your truck and traffic and AI mods. Do this for every additional mod until you reach the point where you notice a marked drop in performance. At this point, adjust your G traffic values back in increments of 1 or decimals until you reach the level you're happy with. If you're one of my subscribers, you'll have to go into the My Mods folder and adjust the values in the traffic rules spawn.sui file. This can be done by lowering the frequency and the count limit values. You'll have to do this until you've reached the desired density effect. Once again, this can only be achieved through trial and error, but it's well worth it. And that, as they say, is the basics of getting your game to run the way it's supposed to. If you liked this tutorial, for the love of all that is Euro Truck, hit that subscribe button. And also, please like and share this video with everyone you know who could benefit. And above all, hit the alert icon so that you can be the first one to see any new content coming from my channel. And just like that, we've come to the end of another video. Thank you all very much for watching, and this is Mig saying I'll catch you on the next one.